vehicle. Vehicle.
Welcome to the Double Dribble Podcast with Dubin and Dakil. That's Jared Dubin, author of Last Night in Basketball newsletter. Make sure you're subscribing to it, checking out all his good stuff. He is doing the season preview, which we're also going to be doing on this show, but he's going through each team individually and giving you his in-depth analysis on that. I'm Mo Dakil, former video coordinator with the Clippers Spurs Team Australia. I am doing videos for Join Offsides. Make sure you're following that account. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. We got Jason Concepcion, Kofi Abuhe. We have Kirk Henderson. I'm very sorry, Kirk. I just stuttering this morning. This is just where I'm at. Folks, this is the second time we're recording the intro because I'm off to such a great start. I fucked up my own name. But make sure you're joining us on Offsides. Follow those accounts. Make sure you're checking out all our videos and all that fun stuff. We have a lot of fun things coming in the future. And that's, read the stuff I do on Bleacher Report. Jared, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. And let's not forget to tell the people to subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, review the podcast on all of your different podcast apps on YouTube as well. YouTube.com/@DoubleDribblePod, Spotify, iTunes, whatever else podcast apps or wherever you listen to your podcast. Please do that for us as well. And got a lot to talk about today.
We got a lot. We got a whole lot. So we're gonna try to touch everything and try to keep this still at a reasonable time frame for everybody. But we got to start with the breaking news yesterday, which is Josh Giddey's restricted free agency ended. He is the second restricted free agent to kind of come to agree. The four guys, two of them have now signed. We have Josh Giddey signing for a 4-year, $100 million deal with the Chicago Bulls. No team options, no player options or anything like that. It's just a straight 4-year deal, $20 million a year. The Bulls were hoping to get him at like around $80 million. Of course, Giddey was trying to get around $120 million. So, they met in the middle. It just took them 2.5 months to figure out the math and what the middle was, Jared.
Yeah, naturally, I wrote my Bulls preview that came out Tuesday morning, and I led it off with, great job by the Bulls playing hardball with Josh Giddey. Of course, I'd rather him have the money than Jerry Reinsdorf have the money, all things equal. But based on this new cap environment, you basically have to play hardball with these restricted free agents because you have all the leverage in the situation. And like 6 hours later, it was like Josh Giddey, 4 years, $100 million.
Yeah.
They basically, like you said, met in the middle. The Bulls wanted to do 4 for 80. Giddey wanted to do like 4 for 120, I guess. Wanted to get like the $30 million a year, and they met in the middle at $25 million a year. Granted, my guess was like 3 for 75 with maybe a player option for that third year so that the Bulls didn't have to commit for too long, but Giddey still gets his money and gets control of the situation and when he gets back into unrestricted free agency. But I think going the full 4 years for the Bulls is a mistake here. I care more about that than the $25 million a year. I don't know how you feel.
No, I don't. I'm not too distraught about it, to be honest with you. I think only because it's still a very movable deal. Like he's at $20 million. Yeah, I mean, not right now, but like in 2 years.
It's $25 million a year, not 20.
Oh, excuse me.
They wanted to get him at 20.
Sorry,
that was
right. That was the middle. I made fun of their math skills, and yet I'm the one failing miserably. I think the ultimate thing though is even at 25, like that's a reasonable number for him. Like, I'm sorry, like I just think we make it seem like they can't get off this in 4 years. My bigger question for the Bulls is, what's your plan? What are you trying to be? It's more philosophical than I think in 2 years, with Giddey having 2 years, $50 million left on his deal, or even after year 3, 1 year, $25 million. Like, I think you'll be able to get off that deal in a way where I don't think it'll be crazy. And to be honest, if he played the way he played the last 20 games of the season, where he damn near averaged a triple-double, like, that's pretty damn solid. And I think there's a lot of stuff there. I think it was fine. Like, I don't have anything there are going to be times where I'm going to come on here, Jared, and have like fire and brimstone for a stupid decision a team makes or something. I don't feel like I don't have that here. Like I just saw it and was like, yeah, that's kind of where I thought this was going to end up anyways. So I'm not too sort of hurt about that one.
I don't have fire and brimstone necessarily. I am a little bit more skeptical of that, I guess. I think if the best thing you can say about a deal is that it's still going to be tradable in 2 or 3 years, I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing. I'm also like highly skeptical of, oh, well, if you look at what he did over the final 19 games of last season, which is what he played after the All-Star break, then this is going to be good value. Like, did we see what he did in the other, 50 or whatever games that he played during the regular season? Because it was not close to this value of a player.
No, I get that. And if you're the Bulls, you're betting on that being the, hey, he's going to be better. That's right, more realistic, and it kind of clicked in. I know we have empirical data of all that other stuff, but we do have guys that, hey, things kind of click at the right time and they start to find things going. I'm not saying he's going to be that guy. I'm not saying he's going to come out and be a triple-double machine as we get going through the rest of his career. But I think there's just an element of like, cool, like that's part of the reason why they're paying him $100 million and not $80 million. If he didn't have those 19 games, they probably would have been able to get him at 4 years, 80. I don't think it's that. I don't think 4 years, 100 is that big of a leap for him, and I don't think it's a situation where, hey, that's a really bad deal for them. I also just don't. My bigger question is just what's the plan? Like they'll have to figure out what they're going to do with Kobe White next season. They're going to have to kind of figure out. Are they actually going to try to be a good basketball team, or are they just going to enjoy the treadmill of mediocrity? I mean, this is also the organization that gave Patrick Williams 4 years, 95, and that was like, and that's a fire and brimstone deal. That was one of those things where you're like, at no point did he show anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can get there. I'm just on the more skeptical side of Giddey in general, and have been since the beginning, I guess. I think for most of his career, he has not shown himself to be a $100 million player, $25 million a year player. And we basically have like a third of a season, not even a quarter of a season sample of him being the kind of player that would be worth this kind of money. And I would just rather not bet on that, even if it was the most recent thing. So where I come down. But okay, I do agree with you, though, that the bigger philosophical question is like, what are the Bulls doing here? Is Giddey even like a future building block for them, or is this a deal that's designed to be traded? Or are they gonna keep shooting for the middle? Or one of the other things I wrote about in the preview was like, why is Nikola Vucevic still on this team? Doesn't make any sense that he's there given the rest of the roster. But also, to me, the reason he's still on the team is because of the new CBA rules. You can't trade him for somebody who makes less money, because anybody who does that automatically gets hard capped at the first apron. Right. So it's just much harder to get rid of a guy who doesn't fit on the team at all.
All right. Well, I'm gonna put you in the Bulls situation. Okay. What do you do then? Because you don't want him taking the qualifying offer. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I insist on a short. Like, to me, 3 years would have been my sticking point more than the amount of money per
year. Would you have paid more? Would you have paid more then? Would you have paid him 30 over 3 years?
No, I definitely.
So I mean, like you have to give something, right? Like if you're going to say, "Hey, we're going to make this a shorter term deal," which I'm sure the Bulls were trying to, and Giddey goes, "No." I
paid 26 over 3 years, or 25.5 over 3 years, maybe. I still don't think.
But they would have said no.
$25 million a year player, but to get fewer years, I think would have been better. Just it's less damaging.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't. I just don't think
super fired up about it or anything like that. Like, I don't think this is the worst deal in the history of the world. I just like to commit that long to a player that I don't think has shown that he's worth this yet. Granted, I know you're supposed to pay for future performance rather than past performance, but I'm not sure what there is to unlock that makes him worth this money, if that makes sense.
No, I agree with you in that stuff, but I think this is also part of the problems when you're in restricted free agency as a team, right? Like, what do you do in terms of, like, we don't want him to take the qualifying offer, and I think that just kind of puts them in a tough position as an organization. And again, I still think you'll be able to find a way. Like, we always talk about contracts not being movable, and then the dude gets traded like a year later. Like it's never like it's never maybe they have to add an asset and that will suck. But if they were really motivated to get off the contract, or if he plays to that level, then he becomes an asset that could bring in more stuff. Like there's a level of like, this is the game. Well, this is what they have to do.
Let me ask you this. What's the scenario where this becomes a steal for the Bulls? Is it him doing what he did in the last 19 games of last season forever? Because I just can't count on that.
I don't think 19 games is a large enough sample size, but yeah, if that's the player he's going to be, where he's going to average 21 points, 10.3 rebounds, 10.7 rebounds and 9.3 assists, like that's a fucking that's a all-star level numbers. Like those are like that's a massive steal at 25 million.
Is he going to shoot 45% from three for the rest of the time too?
I mean, fuck. But listen, if he shoots, we expect that to go down. But Jared, you're laughing. If he shoots at 40% or 38%, that's a fucking win.
Yeah, but should we expect that? He's been what 30. He's been a 33% shooter for his entire career, including the 38% he shot last year, based on that 45% over the last 2 games, on exclusively the most wide open shots in the history of the world, because nobody cares if he shoots.
Right, and they'll give him a little more coverage, I'm sure, over time. But like, at no point in his career has he ever shot this well, and I understand that being an outlier. But I'm saying that also means like there's a level of like this shows growth and that he's improved as a shooter and is hopefully developing. I don't know if it's going to last. He might be dog shit next year and shoot 29% from three. We'll see.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think
but you asked me,
but
you asked me what the steal would be. If this was going to, how does it look if it's a steal? Like that's what it is. If it's the last 19 games, and even 45% is crazy. Even if it drops down to the 38, that's a win.
Yeah, he did shoot 38 for the season last year, but obviously a lot of that is that he shot.
But the way he shot it this last
46% in the final 19 games.
Yeah, that's
before that he was at 34.5% for the season, which still
he was
would
about
have
his
been,
career.
I believe, a career high.
Right, but around like where he's hovering at like 32, 33, right? Like that's his kind of his number. Yeah. If he gets that up to 36, 37, that's a win for them. To be honest.
To me it's more about whether teams care that he shoot. Can he get to a point where he makes enough shots consistently enough,
right,
and is willing to shoot often enough that teams care when he's shooting?
Yeah,
I'm skeptical that ever comes.
We'll see where that goes. On that Bulls team, there's not a lot of guys to cover, so they might actually decide to sort of put a little more pressure on him. The other guy we got to talk about is Cam Thomas. I cannot speak today, folks. I am sorry. Cam Thomas signed the qualifying offer for Brooklyn. What was it at? Like I want to say it was like $7 million around what he signed.
It's a lot less money than he probably could have got if he took supposedly what Brooklyn's 1 and 2 year offers were.
Right, but like this also the move for him more is just this is my favorite phrase. I'm betting on myself, Jared. It's him saying I'm going to have a big season. I will be an unrestricted free agent next year. More teams will have cap space, and that's where I will make up what I lost in this 1 year qualifying offer for that, and then it also handcuffs the Nets because they can't trade him.
At least not without his consent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was anybody in the league and anybody of these four guys that was going to bet on himself, it was going to be Cam Thomas. And honestly, for him, I think it makes sense because I don't think the Nets were ever really going to commit to him over the long term. They were just going to offer him these 1 and 2 year deals. So I think it makes sense. Like, why not see if you can ball out on this 1 year deal and get yourself an actual contract in unrestricted free agency next year when there are going to be significantly more teams with cap space. I think honestly, I think it makes sense for both sides. Like, the Nets obviously didn't want to commit to him long term. I understand why, given his limitations as a player. And Thomas is exactly the kind of guy to bet on himself. He's going to have a ton of opportunity this year to try to prove that he's worth it to teams on the open market next year. This makes sense to me.
Yeah, I actually think this is fine for both sides. Look, the Nets are wanting the tank. They don't care too much about wins in that situation. Again, for Cam Thomas, like, yeah, this is his way. It's a much better market for him as an unrestricted free agent next year, where he'll be able to try to recoup some of that money. And if he balls out this year, it's a whole other story with that. If he can kind of improve a little bit more as a playmaker and things like that, I think helps his value with everything. I think it gets really interesting. Maybe not feud so much with Zach Lowe during the whole thing. But that was a fun little aside this offseason. But I have no qualms with that one. That was where I'm at. It then puts pressure, though. Now we have two restricted free agents left, Quentin Grimes and Jonathan Kuminga. I'm fascinated. I saw something.
We'll talk about one of them later in the podcast.
Yep. And so there's two guys left, and we'll get to them later. Of course, folks, we understand this wasn't the biggest news in the NBA that has been broken since our last podcast. Pablo Torre, if Pablo Torre finds out, drops a massive bombshell of the Clippers circumventing the cap to pay Kawhi Leonard through a company called Aspiration. Aspiration goes bankrupt. All that stuff. If you're listening to us, you know the story by now. Yeah. So you know that, you know the story of Steve Ballmer's retort with Ramona Shelburne. You probably listened to Mark Cuban on Pablo Torre's podcast to kind of defend Steve Ballmer. Jared, what's your take on everything?
Yeah, and also, if you're listening to this, you probably saw the additional reporting from Boston Sports Journal, which was like another deal for basically like the same amount of money. So it was like double the amount of money that Pablo reported. And you probably saw the reporting from the Toronto Star about all the demands that Kawhi supposedly had when he was deciding between the Clippers and the Raptors in free agency that summer. Wanted to own, like 10% of the city of Toronto or whatever it is. That's obviously an exaggeration, but based on all the things.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. It seems clear that he got this deal. Pablo has all the documentation, obviously. The deal with Aspiration existed. He didn't have to do anything to get the money. And based on the reporting from the Toronto Star, he wanted the same kind of deal to stay with the Raptors in 2019. The idea that this Aspiration deal was an inducement to sign with the Clippers in the first place doesn't hold water to me, because it didn't happen until 2 years later. And the Clippers didn't even have the deal with Aspiration until 2 years later. Could there have been an inducement to sign with the Clippers in the first place? I'm not denying that. The NBA did an investigation and they cleared the Clippers on it, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It's entirely possible the NBA investigation just didn't turn up anything because they hit it well enough, like Mark Cuban said that they would have. But could this have been an inducement to sign the extension with the Clippers instead of going into free agency? Maybe. Could it have just been circumventing the cap? Maybe. The one thing I don't buy is that they did this specific deal with Aspiration was the way that got him to sign with the Clippers in the first place. I think we need to differentiate between those two things. There might have been an inducement to sign with the Clippers in the first place, but it wasn't this specific thing, which couldn't have happened until 2 years later.
Right. So that's the thing. First off, I want to start with, is I've seen people kind of revision history, sort of like the Raptors got screwed. No, my read in 2019 was this was always a 1 year rental and that Kawhi was leaving, where he was, and
that's what everyone thought.
And he was coming to LA. It was a matter of where in LA. That was my read in that situation. So Raptors fans who are screaming the only way he would have stayed is if he got those side things that he was asking for in the Toronto Star. And by the way, and he was asking everybody about it. It was kind of known that this was the weird stuff that Uncle Dennis was asking for with all that stuff. Also, Laker fans, my read also was he never wanted to play with LeBron. He was using the Lakers too. Yeah, at the time in 2019, that was stuff that was reported, and then, and he was just using them for leverage to get the Clippers to give him Paul George to make that trade, to do all that stuff. And I don't know if there's enough evidence there. Even Pablo's paper trail really doesn't sell me on the fact that like Steve Ballmer knew. Does it mean Steve Ballmer didn't know? No, but there hasn't been a smoking gun presented to me. It all looks bad. It all looks really just like it's easy to make the assumption that this is what happened, and I think the NBA has to investigate. From my understanding, they've paid. They're bringing in one of the top law firms in this investigation to do the research and check all this stuff out. If it comes out that there is a paper trail like Glenn Taylor signing, with the Joe Smith deal, then yeah, like you have to you can throw the absolute book at him. I think there will be a punishment for the Clippers. I don't know what it will be. I don't know what how big this is going to go. We're going to see how the investigation unfolds and what it comes up with. But this is just so incredibly dumb to me, and it's he signed the extension. It was a max extension. It wasn't like he signed $50 million less, in right. that the one that he got. And this time around, there's all these things like people are like kind of like we're really nitpicking on a lot of things where we're trying to kind of piece it together and trying to prove the guilt. Might be guilty. I don't know. But I just think there's a lot of stuff here that still needs to be sort of put out there, and everybody running out here going like they circumvented the cap. They might have, but they might not have, and they might have gotten completely fucked, in the process. And it might be Uncle Dennis up to shenanigans. The worst thing that I think's the worst part of the whole deal is just the fact that it was a no-show job is the thing that's a massive killer.
Do one Instagram post. Like, do literally anything. Take a picture next to a tree. Like, I will say that I don't think the NBA needs to find a smoking gun to punish the Clippers. Like, they can collect all this circumstantial evidence and be like, it's more likely than not that you circumvented the cap in some way here, or the perception that you circumvented the cap means that we can punish you because of all of these variety of reasons. There was no smoking gun when the NFL punished Tom Brady for deflating footballs. These leagues can do whatever they want.
Granted, I expect them to punish them.
What the punishment is for cap circumvention is laid out in the CBA, I believe. But we've seen Silver go outside the CBA, and we've seen other leagues go outside the CBA to lay out punishments in other situations. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened either. I do want to caution against there needs to be a smoking gun for the Clippers to get punished. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think they can collect all of this circumstantial evidence and say, this is what it is, and for these reasons, we're going to punish you.
No, I think they're going to get punished. I think they will, and I agree with you in that sense. But people who want, like, I've seen people run out and say they want the death penalty, whatever that equivalent is, or the similar punishment to what the Wolves got with Joe Smith. That stuff needs a smoking gun. If you're going to take away all their draft picks to me and void Kawhi's contract and do this and make it so that they like that actually to me requires some sort of smoking gun, some sort of there was a connection, a memo or something or email or whatever that kind of does. That requires a smoking gun. If they want to levy a massive fine and take away a couple of draft picks, sure, that's fine, whatever, but like if you want them to do the 5-year, remove 5 draft picks from I think you need to have a little bit more. That's just my viewpoint of it. I expect them to punish the Clippers in the sense just the circumstantial evidence of it is bad enough. Like, is enough to levy a punishment. The degree of how big that punishment is really the question based on, to me, with the smoking gun.
Yeah. Okay, then we're in agreement. But like Kawhi, Uncle Dennis, do an Instagram post. Take a picture with a tree, like I said. Like, have a press release when the agreement gets signed. Like, do literally fucking anything.
The other thing that's incredibly dumb with the whole thing was the corporation that Kawhi created for this, which was KL2 Aspire, and the company that was paying was called Aspiration. Like, God, like, it's almost too dumb to be a conspiracy. Like, there's just but like also that's the kind of stuff that gets you caught, like it doing the stupid thing.
We've seen that in these days in America, things that are too dumb to be a conspiracy can still be a
A conspiracy, for sure. It's just so funny to me. I just when I heard that part, I was just like, oh god, like you really are just trying to be like, look, it's just so dumb. Oh, all right. Let's actually do. We're gonna do our Pacific Division preview, which we had actually said we were gonna do before all this Kawhi stuff broke out. So let's just go right to the Clippers since that's where we're on in the topic, and Jared, take it away.
Yep, Clippers significant moves this summer. They drafted Yannick Koden-Niesenhauser, re-signed James Harden and Nick Batum, signed Brook Lopez, Bradley Beal, and Chris Paul, traded Norm Powell and a second-round pick for John Collins, possibly paid Kawhi Leonard under the table 7 or 8 years ago or whatever it was, waived and then re-signed Jordan Miller on a 2-way contract, and their over-under is 49.5 wins. Mo, what excites you about the Clippers this season?
The idea of no-show jobs across the board. I'm actually excited for the Bradley Beal and Chris Paul kind of bounce back. Chris Paul returning and even a little bit of a bounce back year from Bradley Beal. I'm assuming I'm going through the assumption Kawhi Leonard's still going to be a Clipper. We don't know how this whole thing shakes out. So, like, in my preview here, that's what I'm looking at. I'm actually excited for this whole team, to be honest with you, Jared. They're a bit old, but I'm excited for this squad because I think they can be kind of sneaky.
Yeah, I am also excited for Brad Beal and Chris Paul. I'm just the optionality that they have with their roster now in general is exciting to me. They can go with Zubats or Brook Lopez in the front court. They can play either one of them solo or alongside John Collins. They can play John Collins solo. They still have Derek Jones that they can throw at the 4. They can have Kawhi play the 4. They can have Chris Paul play with James Harden or by himself. Either one of those guys can play with Bradley Beal. Both of them can play with Bradley Beal. They have so many different looks that they can throw at opposing teams now. That's really exciting to me.
Yeah, I think that's a big one there for them. That versatility is going to go a long way. Apart from the latest news, they had a great freaking offseason. They really did.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought they had a great offseason.
Yeah, I mean, what worries me about them is part of what is we could talk about with the offseason. Is this team just too old to win? I wrote about it earlier in the offseason about teams like the Clippers and whether age is just a number, which is what Lawrence Frank said when they signed all of these guys. And somebody asked him, I think it was Law Murray from The Athletic, asked him about, how old of a team they were going to be. They were already the oldest team in the league that last year. It's entirely possible that they have a minutes weighted age like over 32 years old this year, which would be the first team in God knows how long to do that. I think like 15, 16 years, something along those lines. If I'm remembering, if you go to Last Night in Basketball, and scroll down a little bit, you'll find the is age just a number story that I wrote about that, and you'll be able to see the exact numbers there. But yeah, to me, they're still extremely dependent on James Harden to create shots. They're extremely dependent on Kawhi Leonard. If Harden has to miss time, they're extremely dependent on Chris Paul. Either way, they're going to be very dependent on Chris Paul when Harden is off the court. Brook Lopez is like my age. The only guy in the rotation that isn't 30, I believe, is Zubats, and he's like 27 or 28.
How old's John Collins? John Collins turned 30 just now, and I missed it.
John Collins, I think, is 27 or 28 also, now that I think about it.
Yeah, because that was the one thing. But point taken, that doesn't change the I'm looking it up, Jared. He's 27. He's going to turn 28.
He will be 28 by the start of the season.
Right. No, this is an old team.
Later this month.
That's actually the concern I have as well, in the sense of this is an old team, and the only thing I could say is the hope is that they could spread everybody's minutes out so that they don't spread minutes around so nobody's playing crazy ass minutes and still pull off wins. I still like this team though. It's just age is going to scare me, and I wonder if there's going to be a situation where they kind of sort of whimper down the stretch, and sort of fall, wind down in a way or run out of gas. For them, I think it's going to be a thing for Ty Lue to be like, hey, Chris, we only want you playing 20 minutes a game, max. We want to try to keep Kawhi fresh at 30 and then maybe ramp him up towards the end. The most important thing for them is they have to hit the season run, start the season rolling. I think they got to bank wins early so that they can kind of get themselves in a good position. They don't want to be in a spot where they're fighting to stay out of the play-in tournament at, the 6-7-5 situation when it's all like crumpled, and you lose 2 games and all of a sudden you're the 9th seed. Like, they need to try to bank wins as early as possible so that they can, and this is every team I know, but this team in particular because of their age, you want to try to get as many wins early so that you can at least slowly kind of rest guys through the course of the season and try to keep guys fresh. But the age thing is definitely a concern.
Yeah, I'm with you on getting off to a fast start. Unfortunately, I think we saw last year that the best thing for Kawhi is probably to just like not play until January, so you can like just play the rest of the season because you don't know that he's going to last beyond 6 months. That obviously would not help in terms of getting off to a fast start to the season. And if he's playing early, then it obviously becomes a significant concern about him making it all the way through the year. There's a significant concern about, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Chris Paul. I know Chris Paul played every game last year, but, Brook Lopez making it through the season. The rest of the guys in the rotation, it's not like they've been the healthiest guys in the world outside of Kawhi either. So there's a concern about everybody. And granted, yeah, you can manage the minutes of a lot of these guys by playing the other guys more, but you're still playing a bunch of old guys more often, Like, it's going to be tough. I agree getting off to a hot start to the season would be really helpful so that you can then manage the guys a little bit more toward the end of the year. And you do still have, there are some young guys on the bench. It's just all of those guys are the guys who aren't going to play for the most part.
Right. You're right. Unfortunately, a lot of those guys aren't going to play with all that stuff. I should point out, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing me look at the other screen I have. It's because as we're doing this, Adam Silver is having his press conference. We did a great job timing this, Jared. And Tim Bontemps just tweeted this out, kind of going to the Kawhi report. Adam Silver says definitively the burden of proof is on the league in any process that is going to levy a punishment on any team in any situation. Adam Silver says, the mere appearance, just as those words read, I would be reluctant to act if there is only that. Maybe the Clippers are going to get away with this. I don't know. It'll go back to being my thing. My complaint of Adam Silver is he is a little bit soft in terms of punishments.
Yeah. I'm reading this from Mike Vorganoff from The Athletic right now, and Silver said I have very broad powers in these situations, which means he probably can go outside of whatever is in the CBA. But then he also says I would be reluctant to act if there was a mere appearance of impropriety. I think the goal of a full investigation is to find out if there really was impropriety. So I would say this is going to take a while is the big thing. It's going to be an investigation that goes on for several months.
We're not getting a conclusion on this for a while, folks. And then I'm sure Pablo's looking for the next bomb to drop on this story as well in all of this. So, and by the way, Pablo did a great job outlining it all. What's the next question with the Clippers?
What is your prediction for the Clippers this season? Any prediction you want. This can be what is their record going to be, where are they going to finish in the standings, or just, one thing that's going to happen for them during the season. What do you got?
I have the Clippers actually finishing at around the 5th seed in the West. I think they are one of the better teams.
Our prediction is almost exactly the same.
Oh boy,
exactly.
That's not fun. That's not fun. Damn it. But I just think they have a lot of talent. I like Ty Lue as a coach. I think they did such a great job last year. Even with Kawhi out, they really were able to stay afloat through the course of the season, and keep everything rolling. And I think the guy everybody needs to watch out for is Zubac. He's taken leaps every season, and last year was his biggest one. And I think he's just a massive force for that team.
Yeah, so my prediction was that the Clippers finish with the 4 seed. I say that they come in behind the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Nuggets, but that they then they might lose in the first round. And if they get to the second round, they are not going to beat the Thunder. So I think they are very, very good in the regular season, but the playoff success is just not there because they don't have that next gear that other teams can get to.
Yes. Absolutely. I kind of agree with you on that. All right, let's move to the next team because that's a lot of talk for the Clippers.
All right, Golden State Warriors. Significant moves this offseason? None. No moves.
I love
They are
it.
locked in a stalemate with Jonathan Kuminga, and they are supposedly going to sign Al Horford at some point. Their over-under is 45.5 wins. Mo, what excites you about the Warriors? Can we even answer any of these questions about this team?
I will say the pairing of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. We saw what it looked like last year. I'm excited for that to continue. I don't think it'll be as high of a run or as great of a run as it was, but I still think there's some promise there as those guys get more comfortable. Just having a guy, Jimmy is such a change of pace for the Warriors in terms of like how he scores, and when Steph goes out, it's kind of a very different style with him. I think I was always concerned last season before the trade of like who is the Warriors' second option, and then now I think it's definitively Jimmy. With all that, I think that's what I'm very excited about. But to go back to the situation they're in, the stalemate is, I don't think it's not just Al Horford waiting on them. It's DeAnthony Melton waiting. There's word out that Malcolm Brogdon might be a person of it. Like there are guys that are waiting for this to get sorted out so they can sort out their own free agency. And I'm partly surprised these guys have all waited so long. Like Horford waiting, like this better work out, the way they hope, and same for DeAnthony Melton and Gary Payton II. I think is another guy that they're looking at. It's interesting that they have done absolutely nothing with this, but it's fascinating.
It's holding up a lot of business. Unsurprisingly, what I'm most excited for is the same thing, just a full season of Jimmy Butler there. I think that the chemistry between him and Draymond on both ends of the court was really fun to watch throughout the season. I did a video on that toward the end of last season at Last Night in Basketball. I think that this is something that Dan Devine wrote about at Yahoo a bunch of times. The ability of the Warriors to win the possession battle once they got Jimmy in terms of like generating more turnovers, not turning the ball over quite as often, getting more offensive rebounds, and especially getting to the free throw line way more often than they did before they got him was absolutely massive, and that helped them be one of the better teams in the league once they got him. And then the biggest thing to me was the non-Steph minutes when they had Jimmy on the court. They actually won those minutes. They would get killed in the non-Steph minutes every single season. If you can actually win those minutes or play to a draw in those minutes, that is absolutely massive for them.
That's a big one there, right? Like, I kind of went back to what I was saying with no second option. Like, you sort of build a lead if you're the Warriors in the Steph minutes, and then give it all back when Steph goes, to the bench, and then it opens up the situation where like you're behind and really dealing with it and makes games harder. That's a massive point right there. It's going to be big for them.
Yeah. What worries you about this team? I wonder what this is going to be.
No, a little bit concerning for me is I actually do worry about the age. They're also old to me, in that sense. Like your main guys you're counting on. Also, I didn't surprise you. That's disappointing. Draymond. How healthy can Draymond be? Jimmy misses a ton of games with his the past few years. Like how healthy can these guys be? It's really concerning because they're very thin after that, right? Like they won't be able to sustain a Steph injury or a Jimmy injury, right? And I think that's a big one there. And then if Draymond goes out, their defense, I think, will go to the tank pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, Steph is going to be 38 years old during the season. Is that right? Yeah, he's born in 1988. Draymond is going to be 36 at the start of the season. Or sorry, Jimmy is going to be 36 at the start of the season. Draymond is going to turn 36 during the season. Buddy Hield is going to be 35 toward the start of the season. He turned 35 in December. There's basically nobody else on the team other than those guys, like Trace Jackson Davis, Quentin Post, Moses Moody, Guy Santos, and Brandon Bajemski. Nobody else is on the team yet. So we got to see what happens there. How are they going to fill out the roster? Al Horford, obviously, very old, basically my age, maybe even a year older if I'm remembering correctly. That's concerning. Then there's the Jimmy being Jimmy aspect. Is he actually going to be the number 2 scorer every night, or is he going to have his games where he floats in and out of what you need him to do? Obviously, that's something that we see quite often with him. And then, I mean, this Kuminga situation has the potential to be extremely combustible depending on what happens here. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a sign and trade. Doesn't seem like there's all that much interest there. The qualifying offer, I think, would be a disaster for both sides. Doesn't seem like he wants to accept these 1 or 2 year offers from the Warriors, and why would he? It doesn't make sense for him to do that. I just think that the whole situation has the potential to be extremely combustible for them.
Yeah, it's a really they handled Jonathan Kuminga wrong from the get-go, from the draft all the way to now. Like, they've made and some of it's his own fault. Let's not absolve him of any sort of wrongdoing, but like, I felt like they've handled this stuff crazy in the way they went through it. Like, the fact they're trying to get him to sign a 2-year deal, which is good money, I think, at $45 million for him, but it's, basically they have total control. He has to waive his early bird right, so they could, if they want to trade him this year, and it's a team option for next year, not a player option. Like, they're just trying to have the total control, trying to have their cake and eat it too, and him rightfully so saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's an absolute disaster for them if he takes the qualifying offer, because it just creates such a bad vibe. This has the potential of being a bad vibes team.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Draymond and Jimmy, kind of getting upset with Kuminga or things like this. Has the potential to be a really rocky season in Golden State.
Yeah, and everything was fine with Draymond and Jimmy throughout obviously the first season that he was there, but that doesn't guarantee that everything's going to be fine between them going forward. Like, we'll see what happens there as well. But yeah, I mean, on Kuminga, like, I think they mishandled both him and Moody. Like, why were these guys not getting minutes earlier in their career so you could really see what you have in them? Still, Moody doesn't get really enough minutes in the rotation. I don't think Kuminga, they've sort of yanked his minutes around and haven't really decided on what kind of role they want him to play. Granted, he's not the best fit with their style of offense, but having a guy who isn't the best fit and having a guy who gives you a changeup is a good thing sometimes, and you got to be willing to lean into it sometimes. But like you said, not like he's faultless here. Like, you got to make more of an effort to play within the style of play that your team wants you to play, even if that's not necessarily the best fit for your skill set. I do think that you should accommodate your system, or you should gear your system around accommodating the skills of your players, but players also have to make accommodations for the best players on the team. They're not going to run the system that's best for Jonathan Kuminga. They're going to run the system that's best for Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson before that. Like, that's what they're going to do, and Kuminga's got to be able to make himself fit in within that, and obviously hasn't done the best job of that over the years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It'll be massive to see how this kind of just plays out. Like, I'm disappointed a little bit in that. It was funny, like, once Steph got hurt in the playoffs, there's also like, hey, we need you, Jonathan, let's go, and like, there's talent there. I'm not sure how big of a Kuminga fan I am, but like, there was a way, I think, to work him into your system. And you're right, he's not a perfect fit for their system, but clearly, the idea was like Steve being so rigid and not being able to adapt a little bit is part of the problem there, and I think that's sort of the situation there that kind of put them in this spot. This was a piece that was supposed to be part of the two timelines, and now it just looks like an utter disaster for them.
Yeah. What's your prediction for and by the way, just quickly, Steve Kerr being so rigid in this situation, not exactly a Steve Kerr like characteristic. It's pretty surprising that he's been so rigid in this situation, given the flexibility that he shows elsewhere. It's been like a thing with Kuminga and not very many other guys, I feel like.
Right. And the leash is very short with Kuminga. My prediction, though, is I think this is a play-in team. And it's just I don't know how healthy these guys are going to be. Like, like, it's funny. We just talked to Clippers and they're old, and I'm like, they're a 5 seed. But I feel like they at least have a lot more pieces that fit. I think you have a little bit more motivation from Bradley Beal. they're deeper. And I look at this Warriors team, even with Horford, with Melton, with Peyton, and they had a really good defense before Melton went down with an ACL injury last year, right? And it looked really solid. I just don't know if I'm ready to say, like, okay, this team's top 5 in the West. Like, I think they're going to really struggle with that stuff. And if Curry misses a good amount of games, if Jimmy misses a good amount of games, if Draymond misses a good amount of games, they're in trouble. And I think for me, they're a play-in team.
I could definitely see that. I'd probably have them in the same range. My prediction is somehow, some way, Jonathan Kuminga is not on the team by the end of the season. I think he is somehow going to get traded during the year. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know who the hell is going to pay up, but I just don't think that he can possibly last the year with the team in this situation. And whether they get him on a 2-year deal or where he doesn't have a no trade clause, or a 1-year deal where he does have it and he's willing to waive it, or the qualifying offer and he's willing to waive it, I think that he's off the team by the end of the year and he's traded to somewhere else.
Yeah, that we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fascinating. It's got to end here. This restricted free agency gone too long, Jared. What do we got next?
Way too long. Next, we got the Los Angeles Lakers, who lowballed Dorian Finney-Smith and saw him sign elsewhere, signed DeAndre Ayton and Jake LaRavia, waived Jordan Goodwin, extended Luka Doncic, went to a Backstreet Boys concert, and LeBron left Luka a FaceTime message congratulating him. Not sure if you heard about that one. Over-under is 49.5 wins. Mo, what excites you about the Los Angeles Lakers in 2025-26?
The energy we have for FaceTime calls and how upset we get if he doesn't show up at it's just, that's the stuff. I'm excited for Luka. Skinny Luka. I don't know how you can't be.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally playing it the Euro basket right now, and it's pretty fascinating with what's going on. They're playing Germany. I think last I saw the score they were winning. I think he looks great. He's moving incredibly well. Like, I'm excited for Luka for a full season, in shape, ready to roll, ready to rock out, and kind of give a fuck you to the Mavs, for not just trading him, but calling him fat on the way out. I think this is pretty exciting for them, and I just think it's exciting. It's fun having him in LA. Obviously, I'm biased being in LA. But I think there's a level of, like, this is the juice this organization needed for quite a while, because it felt like even with LeBron on the team, it felt like this organization had gone a little stale, and I think this was a nice boost for them.
Yeah, it's definitely skinny Luka. Like, I don't even know what else you could go to. Like, skinny Luka / year 1.5 or 2 of LeBron and Luka playing together, and just what that looks like, whether JJ is able to come up with more of the 3-man action stuff that we talked about throughout the playoffs with LeBron and Luka and Reeves, what their offense is able to look like with those guys on the court at the same time, what they're able to do with one of those guys on the court when the other one goes to the bench, just the partnership between those two guys and what that looks like in year 2 with Luka now in, like, quote-unquote best shape of his life, which we hear all the time, but he really does look like it from all the pictures we've seen and what he looks like at Eurobasket. So that's obviously the biggest thing there.
Yeah, I mean, he's moving so damn well. The one thing I will say, I'll save it because that'll be my next thing. But go ahead and go. What the next question? What are we least looking forward to?
Yeah, what are we least looking forward to? What are we worried about for the Lakers? What do you got?
Okay, well, what I'm least looking forward to is Luka complaining. He's complaining a whole ton in Eurobasket as well, and I'm like, holy shit, this is never going to change with him. It's just never going away, and I think that's really a tough one. It's tough. It's just fucking tough to watch sometimes. What I'm concerned about with this team is the defense, though. Right? Like, I don't know how you can't be. Like, bringing DeAndre Jordan in, you're hoping. Bringing in DeAndre Ayton, and you're hoping that that's going to create a little more help at the rim protection, but they just don't have it. I feel like their perimeter defense is really bad. Losing Dorian Finney-Smith was such a massive loss, in terms of that, and that being more because Rob Pelinka was acting like a dumbass on the behind the scenes, reportedly and sort of trying to depress his value in the open market, I think is a big blow for this team. Because when I look at them, I don't know how they guard anybody on the perimeter. Like, I don't know who they have that's going to be able to guard on the perimeter. Like, that's such a red flag for me with this team.
Yeah, they're going to be counting on Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia to do a whole lot. They're going to be counting on LeBron and Luka to play some defense too, and DeAndre Ayton to clean up a whole lot behind them. And all of that is very worrisome to me. The thing I'm least looking forward to is the LeBron drama in the final year of his contract for the first time ever, that he doesn't have another year left on his contract for a player option. The drama that we're going to hear and the rumors and the innuendo that we're going to hear, whether it's about retirement or where he wants to play in the following season or how satisfied or dissatisfied he is with this or that or with Luka or whoever else, is going to be so exhausting, and I am just not looking forward to it at all.
On the LeBron drama, like, I'm genuinely just going to do my very best to avoid it as much as possible, Jared. And I know it's going to be an impossible task because that's going to be everywhere, right? And you're 100% right. We saw it with the whole Miami thing, right? Leading up to him going to Miami and just how crazy that. We've seen it when he has 1 year left on the deal. Like, this is going to be massively. Every city he goes in, it's going to be a question. Everywhere he goes. I am going to do my very best as a human being to not engage with that too much. That's really going to be my focus. I'll probably fail, but I'm going to try.
I was going to say, you're not going to be able to avoid it. Not engaging with it is much more manageable because all that takes is a choice. But because it's going to be absolutely everywhere, it's going to be extremely difficult to not engage with it, especially because, like, it's still fucking LeBron James, Like, you're going to have to engage with LeBron James at some point during the season. And there's going to be a story big enough or explosive enough or whatever it is about him reacting to something or the inner workings of the organization or something along those lines that he's happy or not happy with, or his relationship with Luka or his relationship with JJ, or what he thinks about DeAndre Ayton, or some sort of something that happens during the season that everybody's going to have to react to, myself included, even though I'm going to be the most frustrated person maybe on the planet with all of the drama, because I hate the drama to begin with, and it's even more insufferable when it's off-court drama. But it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. We're all going to react, and we're all going to talk about how stupid and annoying it is that we're reacting. There's going to be a reaction to the reaction. Oh, God, I can already feel myself, like, for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube, like, I'm getting uncomfortable here.
This is the biggest gift LeBron could have ever given First Take, because this is all we're going to hear nonstop the whole time. Like, that's all we're going to hear. And leading up to the trade deadline, it's going to be a lot of trade stuff. There's going to be a lot of that stuff too in that situation. And whether a trade could even be facilitated or not, so different, it won't even matter. Like, it's just going to be a lot of that stuff. He should demand a trade. He should demand to go to so-and-so. He should demand to go to the Knicks. He should demand to go to the Warriors. Like, there's going to be all sorts of, he should team up with Giannis in Milwaukee. Like, there's going to be all sorts of dumb, very dumb things. So, yeah, brace yourself, Jared. You know what my prediction is? Jared's going to lose his mind during all this. That's my prediction. You're going to lose your mind over all of this. I can't wait for that podcast where you just go apeshit and flip the desk over in the middle of it. That's my prediction.
I am going to lose my mind. I will go JJ Redick is going to lose his mind with all of the stuff that's going on defensively between all of the issues that they're going to have on the perimeter. And we talked about it when they signed DeAndre Ayton. JJ, like, he looked like his head was going to fly off its axis like 6 or 7 different times last season. JJ coaching DeAndre Ayton, and I know he talked about on his podcast that he really likes DeAndre Ayton's skill set and whatnot. That's a lot different than having to coach him. And I think that JJ's head, while it might not fly all the way off its axis, he is going to go nuts at some point during this season. And it's going to be a thing, just like it was a thing last year, where I think it was Bomani Jones had his video come out where he was like, JJ might not be wired correctly to be a head coach because he goes nuts on the court way too often. There's going to be another situation like that this year.
I will. The coaches constantly think I can't wait to coach this guy. This is who I want. This is going to be who I want to coach. Like coaches constantly think I can fix them. It is the biggest flaw in coaches across the board. And JJ is going to lose his mind. He might love his skill set, but he ain't going to love coaching him because he hasn't really had to deal with all the other bullshit that comes with him. If you want my real prediction, this is going to be the year Luka wins the MVP.
Okay.
I'm all in on skinny Luka. I think he's going to go hard. I know the we're going to talk about the record and things like that. I don't know if they're going to be a top 4 team in the West. There's a chance for them to be the 4th seed. I don't think they're as good as Oklahoma City, Denver, or Houston, but I think there's that tier in between. I think they're going to have that stuff, and I think Luka's going to be the reason why they're going to be carried to that way. And I think that's why I think skinny Luka, revenge tour, MVP.
I just think it's going to be difficult if they're not like a top 3 or 4 seed in the West, and it's really hard to see them being a top 3 seed given the strength of the top 3 teams in the conference. Like, given what Jokic is going to do and what SGA is going to do, like, how do you knock the 2 of them off the top of the perch if the Lakers are coming in like 4th or 5th place in the West and those teams are so much better? I just think it's going to be really difficult for that to happen.
Yeah, I just don't. I think with Jokic, I think there's going to be voter fatigue. With Shea, I don't know if Shea's going to have the same. Shea has the talent to have the same type of season, but like when you got to go second when you're back-to-back MVP, you have to go above and beyond what you've done. I'm not 100% sure what Oklahoma City is going to look like in terms of like, hey man, like maybe we're going to experiment more, maybe we're going to play around with things more and whatnot, and maybe the opportunities may not be so there for Shea in the way they were last season. So I think there's that possibility there, and that's why I got skinny Luka.
Skinny Luka. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Phoenix Suns fired their coach, hired Jordan Ott, drafted Colin Malawach, traded Kevin Durant for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the rights to Malawach and Rasheer Fleming, and some other fluff, traded a late first and a 2029 first for Mark Williams, extended Devin Booker, and waived and stretched Bradley Beal. Their over-under is 31.5 wins. Mo, are you excited about or looking forward to anything related to the Phoenix Suns this year?
Only thing I'm hoping for is there being a Devin Booker bounce back year. It's been a weird situation he's been in the past few years. And it just hasn't looked good. He hasn't looked happy. He hasn't looked like he's really playing at his level. Hasn't looked comfortable. Look, the first time after they got rid of Chris Paul and they went, Bradley Beal, Durant, and Booker, he was supposed to be kind of the point guard. Like that's not his role. I kind of want to see how deals with him and uses him. And for me, I think that's kind of what I'm most interested about and hopeful that we do get some sort of Booker revival.
I had the same thing. I want to see a scorched earth Devin Booker season where he averages like 36-6 or something along those lines and really becomes the player that he was when they had Chris Paul there, and maybe even better just because he's going to have to take on a bigger role with really no other shot creation on the roster other than him and Jalen Green. And I don't know how much you want to lean into Jalen Green there. So I want to see the best version of Devin Booker, and hopefully we can get that again. I don't know how we're going to get it, given the pieces on the rest of the roster, but I would really like to see him go scorched earth and just have, like a 30+% usage rate and really go after it this year. That would be really, really fun.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to be worth watching there. Like I'm not excited about a lot of the other
What do you have the thing that you're least excited about, worried about, whatever it is? Least excited, worried. What do you got here?
I guess I'm just look. He's been pretty good the past 2 years, but like I'm just least excited about Dylan Brooks. Just in general, like he's one of my least favorite players.
That was not where I was going to go.
He's one of my least favorite players in the league. Like it's not a guy like I enjoy with what he does, and it might I said he was really good for the Rockets for the past 2 seasons. I just don't know how it plays out when he's on a team that has the potential to be pretty damn bad.
I very much enjoy watching Dillon Brooks play defense. I very much do not enjoy watching Dillon Brooks play offense, and they're going to need him to do some stuff offensively, which is a big change from where he's been over the last few years, because other than, Devin Booker, Jalen Green, there's not a lot offensively on the perimeter for this team. So, yeah, it could get interesting. It could get ugly. I'm not excited for the Jalen Green experience, which he's one of my least favorite players in the league to watch. And I think there's going to be too much rope, too much leeway for the Jalen Green experience. And that does not excite me in the least bit, because I think he's a player who needs a little bit more structure and needs to be one of those guys where I've talked about this in the past with a guy like J.R. Smith, where he has the talent to do basically anything on the court, but the more you ask him to do, the worse he is. And I think he would just be better in a more strictly defined role where you only ask him to do certain things so that he can be better at those things. Because when he tries to do everything, there's not enough there. The decision-making still isn't there. And he just winds up playing at a level that doesn't live up to the talent that he has.
Yeah, and I just think it's your analogy of like the J.R. Smith is kind of perfect in that situation for him. That it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough to get just excited about anything with Phoenix. For the Suns, my prediction is it's not that different from your Golden State one. I think they're going to end up trading Jalen Green by the trade deadline. I think showcase him through the course of the season, really kind of get him going, and then they're going to try to flip him. It just doesn't. I know it just doesn't fit with Devin Booker as a player, and I don't see a reason for them to keep him, and they need to start loading up on just assets that they can continue to trade away for a center, which is what they seem to do all the freaking time.
Yeah, I mean, the difficult thing with trading Jalen Green is something that I talked about when he first signed his contract, which is that it's 2 years with a player option for the third year.
Right.
So even in the best case scenario where you trade for him and he outplays the deal, he opts out after not this coming season, but the season after that, and you have to pay him again. So, like, who is going to want to buy into that? It's just really difficult for me to see that happening. It might be that he gets traded next summer, I think is more likely than at the deadline, just because it's easier to make salary stuff work over the summer and because they might be able to use his salary as a step-up kind of thing rather than, like, what can you get in that salary range during the season, if that makes sense.
No, I feel you. I just don't know. All the other predictions are pretty easy. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not a lottery. They're not a play-in team to me. Like, there's just not. There's all the other predictions are kind of obvious. I just think it won't surprise me if they get off Green at the deadline. But what's your prediction?
I'm going to say they move on from the Mark Williams, Nick Richards center duo and have Malawach starting by the end of the season.
He's raw though, Jared. Like, I saw him at Summer League, and they're
so bad though.
Raw.
They're going to be so bad.
I know, but I don't think Ishbia wants to be. And then, what did they give up for Williams? They gave up a first-round pick for Williams, right?
Yeah, they gave up a late first, and they gave up a 2029 first, I believe.
If they give up 2 first-round picks and that dude's not starting by the end of the season, that is a massive loss for them.
Yeah, it's Liam McNeely, Vasily Micic, and a 2029 first-round pick that is the least favorable Phoenix pick.
All right, so sorry, it was 1 pick, but like that is just
Liam McNeely was a first-round pick this year.
This year was their pick.
Basically.
Right. And I like McNeely, actually, at Charlotte. That's right. And now that it's coming back to me here a little bit. It's Charlotte, folks. They're way in the back of my brain. But McNeely looked decent at Summer League. But 2 first-round picks, and if this guy's not starting, that's a big blow for them. I think on optics level, Jared, I don't think they could afford to do
Let's just
that.
throw it out there. Mark Williams cannot stay healthy. So
Well, health aside, are you saying it's because of health, or are you saying it's just he's not good enough and Malowatch is gonna and they're gonna just say screw it, let's just give the young guy a go?
I just think by the end of the year, Malowatch is going to be starting, whether it's going to be injuries or Nick Richards isn't good enough or something. They're shutting Mark Williams down because he's injured or shutting Mark Williams down because they stink. Malowatch is going to be starting by the end of the year.
Okay.
Like their starting center in the last game of the season is going to be him.
Well, that's probably likely on the last game of the season, but like, let's go the last month of the season.
I think it could be the last month of the season too, or at least the last few weeks of the season.
The last few weeks, okay. All right, but fair enough. We get your prediction. Good stuff there. Let's go to the last team, and I'm going to do it with another sigh. Just
the Sacramento Kings drafted Nick Clifford, traded a 2027 protected first-round picks to get him, traded Jonas Valanciunas for Dario Saric, which created the cap space too, signed and trade for Dennis Schroeder, signed Drew Eubanks, signed Doug McDermott. Their over-under is 34.5 wins. Mo, the Sacramento Kings, what are you most excited for this coming season? For those of you not watching on YouTube or Spotify video, Mo has his head in his hands. You can see his smartwatch. You can see his wedding ring. You can see his headphones. And you can't see his face.
I don't have anything I'm excited about for this. The beam, the few times we'll see it this year. Like, even the beam has actually lost its luster. Like, I just don't. What are the Sacramento Kings, Jared? Like, at this point, like, they had such promise just a couple of years ago, and then it's like they don't capitalize on any of that stuff, I think, and then it's been all just terrible and bad since then.
This is a team that as recently as like 2.5 years ago, or I guess 3 years ago at this point, had both De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton, and now does not have a point guard on the team. Like, the point guards are like Dennis Schroeder and I guess technically Malik Monk. And Zach LaVine.
just wait till they sign Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. So I actually am excited for a full season of Domas Sabonis and Zach LaVine chemistry in dribble handoffs and things like that, because I am a sick man, and those are the kind of things that I think about.
You are a sick man. Just because it's like, do we really need to see Bulls East? Like, it's honestly like
the dribble handoff chemistry is better though. Sabonis is a significantly better passer than Vucevic. Like, he gets a lot of that stuff going from the elbow. You can run a lot of offense through him. LaVine can do a lot of the same things that Herter did in that action and that Monk does in that action, but at a higher level. He's a better shooter. He's obviously an elite athlete. He can do more off the dribble than both of those guys. I do think that two-man chemistry is going to be really good. It's a question of if it's worth it to watch the Kings just for that, because everything else is going to be not so great to watch, in my opinion.
The one thing I hope from the Kings is I want to see Keegan Murray have a big year. I don't think he will. I don't think he'll get the opportunities, but like, I still think there's a lot of talent there with him and what he could do.
How is he supposed to get the ball on this team?
That's my problem with this. Like, this team bothers me so much, Jared. And just like, I don't understand let's pair up DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine because it worked so well for the Chicago Bulls. Like, I don't have anything, man. This team is going to be
not just DeRozan and LaVine, Schroeder, Monk, Keon Ellis, Murray.
And they have guys I like, though. I like Murray. I like Keon Ellis. I like Monk.
I love Malik Monk. I'm the foremost Malik Monk stan. Everybody at the monastery, that's what they call, where monks are. So I am the president of the monastery. Oh, Bodie wants to come into the podcast.
Oh, come on, Bodie.
Go ahead. He wants to get in, but he's not jumping up. There he is.
Hey, there you go, Bodie.
Those of you watching on YouTube can now see my dog in my lap.
He's so cute.
He's
so
a
cute.
good boy, and he knows it.
So cute.
What are you least excited for / worried about when it comes to the Kings? I wonder what this answer is going to be.
Just having to watch them is what I'm least excited for. Just having to sit down and watch them. Look, I don't know what their defense is going to be bad. I don't know their spacing is going to be out. Like, there's so many things you can just. I'm sorry, Sacramento. I'm not trying to just shit on you guys or anything. It's just
it's
like
not our fault. It's their fault.
It's just like this team is just like, what are we doing? Where are we going? I'm Doug Christie's your coach. Like, this is going to be like, I don't. No, man, like there's so many things I'm least excited. I'm least excited that I actually have to sit down and watch these games at times.
Yeah, who wants to watch Bulls West? Like you said, it is a little bit different, obviously, but there's so much there that resembles that team. And for me, it's the defense. Like, I don't understand how this team is supposed to defend. Is Schroeder going to start for them at the point? Is Monk going to go back to starting at the point? How does Keon Ellis get out there with all the different guards and wings that they have? Because him and Schroeder are really the only guys that play much defense at guard. How much defense are you going to get from Levine and DeRozan? Is DeRozan playing the 4? I guess Keegan Murray is technically the 4, but he's like an okay defender, but not a stopper. Like Sabonis, obviously, you can't really build a top defense with him as your center. Who is even getting the backup center minutes here? Is it Drew Eubanks? Is it Dario Saric? They drafted the kid Reynaud, I think his name is, and I think that was a second-round pick, if I'm remembering correctly. Is he going to get minutes? Is he able to protect the rim and play defense at all? Like, I don't know how you're stopping. This was already a team that had a lot of trouble stopping teams when they were good, and now their offense I don't expect to be as good as it was when they were the number 1 offense in the league, obviously, and that makes it significantly more difficult to get stops on the other end because it's obviously much easier to get a stop when you're defending off of a made basket than it is off of a missed basket. I am not excited to watch them try to prevent the other team from getting points. The point prevention unit, as I like to say, is not going to be fun to watch throughout this season, I don't think.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty rough. My prediction is they're going to pull the plug and just try to trade everybody at the deadline and be bad. Like they need to freaking just blow this whole thing up and rebuild because they're going in the West. Like, the Bulls in the East have a chance to be a play-in team. This Bulls West has no chance to be a play-in team in this conference. This is going nowhere quickly. You got to just destroy this thing and completely crush it.
Yeah, I have bottom 3 or 4 in the West. Like, they're not going to make the play-in, was my prediction.
Yeah.
And that's one that I feel very strongly about. Like, the Spurs are going to move up this year. The Suns are going to move down. The Blazers are going to be better. The Pelicans will be better, but they were so far behind to begin with. Like, maybe they sneak. No, the Blazers and Spurs are going to try.
You can't even. Trying to
I was going to say, what if they sneak in over the Mavericks because Kyrie's not there and maybe they're not as good, but.
The Mavericks are going to be better.
Even if they do that, there's still 2 teams that are like the Blazers and Spurs, health permitting, are going to jump in. And then even if you're better than every other team at the bottom, the Jazz, the Pelicans, the Suns, and the Mavs, you're still out unless you can jump the Grizzlies or the Warriors, the Wolves or the Clippers or the Nuggets or the Lakers or the Rockets or the Thunder, and you're not going to jump any of those teams. I can't see it. To me, it's a bottom 3 or 4 team in the West, and they're pulling the plug and starting over next year, like you said.
I think that's my prediction there. I don't have anything else to say about Sacramento. Man, they're just bad.
Yeah, I feel bad these last 2 teams. We didn't say all that much, but like I said, we talked about basically everything there is to talk about with the Suns, and then the Kings are just
blah. There's nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to talk about with this team. Like, they're not like. Is it technically interesting because everything is so jumbled and kind of a mess? I guess, but it's not interesting in a good way. It's not interesting even in an interesting on-court way because everything is such a mess. Like,
it's bad.
It's not good. Before we go, do you want to check in on the old college football teams once again? Because Miami beat Bethune-Cookman 45-3, which was not particularly exciting, but Carson Beck did set a Miami record with 15 straight completions to open the game. And Malachi Toney, 6 catches, 80 yards once again. reclassified true freshman, doing that in back-to-back games. CJ Daniels, couple touchdowns. We're playing USF this week, who just upset Florida in Florida. Thankfully, we get USF at home. Then we get Florida at home next week. We're going to, like everybody was talking about our schedule to come in the season, we're going to play 4 ranked teams in the first 5 games of the year because Notre Dame was ranked, USF is now ranked, Florida is still ranked, and then our next game after that, after a bye week, is against Florida State.
How Florida is still ranked is different, is just shocking.
Well, they might not be ranked after this week if they lose to LSU. But Miami still looking good so far, but tough game against USF. I'm not necessarily worried about it, but I've got my radar up because USF has looked really good in the first 2 games.
The first 2 games. I mean, the blowout win against Boise State was hey, we're here, and then this big win against Florida. Yeah, listen, SC played another cupcake. Georgia Southern. It was the return of Clay Helton. Let me just tell you though, we balled out offensively. Our defense still kind of a work in. I'm not as like worried about our defense. Like I'm not walking away from that game going like our defense is terrible. I think we were rotating a lot of guys to figure it out. We won 59-20. It wasn't even close. We had a couple of, they scored the first touchdown because we fumbled on our first offensive possession. They got a couple of easy PIs and that were PIs. But let me just tell you this. Okay. Malachi Lemon and Jacoby Lane.
Yeah.
Those two receivers, those are first, second round picks in the NFL draft.
Ooh.
Like those
have been talked about as an NFL guy.
No, they're the Lemon too. Like this is damn good receivers. So Lane had a ridiculous one-handed catch while PI flag was thrown.
I saw that catch. Was it like? I think it's up there with the catch that CJ Daniels made in Week 1 against Notre Dame for the best catch of the year so far.
No, I think CJ Daniels was better. I'll put my bias
up there. It's up there. It was a pretty sick catch.
It was damn good. And then, Lemon had 2 just catches and then big runs after the catch for touchdowns. Again, I love the running back, even though he fumbled. I love Jordan for, had a big run, broke it out. We got a deep running back room. We haven't had a running back room this deep in a long ass time, Jared. So it's fun to kind of watch all that stuff. Our line has looked good. Maeva has looked good with his decision making through 2 games. Now it gets tough though. We're on the road. It's Purdue, but we're on the road. And if you followed us last year, SC did not win a big.
Wait a second. They're playing Purdue, and then I remembered they're in the fucking Big Ten now.
Big Ten, baby. We're Big Ten country now. Big Ten country in Los Angeles.
So
we did not win a road game last year, a conference road game. So this is still a kind of a big test for us. After that, we get Michigan State at home. So hopefully we do a good job here. And I'd like it to be a comfortable win, but we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully, when we're checking in next week, we're both 3-0. That'd be nice.
That'd be a nice little run there for us.
Yeah.
I think that's it for our show. You got anything else, Jared?
Nah, man, that's it. Just, everybody remember to subscribe to the podcast, like the podcast, rate the podcast, review the podcast on all of your various platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere else. And, we'll be back next week with the next division preview. Go back to an Eastern Conference division, probably the Southeast, maybe the Central. Who knows? You'll find out next week, right?
Yep, come check us out, and thank you for listening to the Double Dribble Podcast.
See y'all.
Double dribble. Double dribble.